Okay, our question today is from our friend Bill. Bill asked, how often should we send periodic messages, once a week or less is kind of what he had in mind, to our entire church, and how can I make sure we don't lose an Uno, as he said, and have people unsubscribe? And I'll also clarify there, he also mentioned the idea of creating a new list with all parishioners, kind of a new everyone list, if you will, and sending that instead of their master list each time they want to send something. So what's the best route to go there?
Yeah. So the concern here is you're going to send something out and people are going to unsubscribe. And then if they unsubscribe, we don't want them missing out on our other, announcements and future communications. So naturally, that's good. Now, you also want to respect the people on the other end that if they unsubscribe, they've chosen to not receive your communications. So part of it is being clear about what your list is for. So if it's for a certain thing and they want those, great, like they can stay on. If they don't want them anymore, we don't need to keep forcing them back on to that list. The question here, I think what he's getting at is when you're sending it to everybody in the whole church, it can be a little mixed. So it's like you're gonna send something out and it's like, well, some people might not want this. A lot of people might be interested, but we don't want the few people who are not interested in this particular sort of special announcement to unsubscribe and then not get any of our regular emails anymore. So it can be a tricky thing to navigate. So in general, when you're sending to everyone in a church, getting an email about once a week from everyone is very normal and acceptable. So if someone's not willing to get your weekly email, as long as it's decent, and they're a member of your community, and they unsubscribe, you probably need to respect that. They're probably not that interested in getting more communications from you and being a part of the church. And maybe that's a separate outreach plan another time where you go and you specifically reach out to folks who have unsubscribed or who used to be subscribed and are no longer, getting the messages, and you reach out to them with something different. So you can be specific about that and intentional. But generally, you can get away with a few special announcements here and then too. So you got your weekly newsletter coming out every week. Try to be at around the same time. And then if you're sneaking in a special announcement for a parish-wide or church-wide special event, that's not going to be an issue. So, people are going to, I think, normally accept that. You just want to make sure that the topic is really for everybody. So if it's really only for a small percentage of people, you don't want to be blasting that out to everybody because then they will start to unsubscribe. They'll say, these are not the kind of announcements I signed up for. I'm going to unsubscribe, and then they're not going to get any of your weekly newsletters going forward. So if you're doing it every once in a while and it really does pertain to everybody, then that's a fine thing to do, I think. You're not going to really lose significant number of people unsubscribing from that you wouldn't have otherwise lost. If the announcement is not really for everybody, or you really think it is sort of its own thing aside from the everyone, normal newsletter, then you could create a separate list, so take everyone and put them on a separate list, and you can make that announcement. If they unsubscribe, you can make future announcements about the same event, and they're not going to keep getting the message and get more annoyed. So it's not, especially if you're making multiple announcements for like a new, a series of announcements about an event or something going on, that's, you want to send to everybody, but you don't want to annoy people with. Create a separate list. Send it to those people for that purpose. If they unsubscribe, make sure you respect that. Don't keep adding them back to the list. And so you can do it as kind of a special thing, but it really is a balance because you don't want to keep doing that. If somebody really does unsubscribe, you don't want to keep putting them on another new special announcement and say, I didn't sign up for this. The other way to go about it would be to have people opt in for something. So if you have, say, a retreat coming up, what I would maybe do is send one message to the whole list that says, hey, we wanted to invite everyone to this. And you could be among other announcements potentially too, but click here, and we have smart buttons built into Flocknote that you can click and have it automatically add them to another list. So allow them to opt in to that list on their own. So you announce it to everybody. It could even be in a series of weekly newsletters where you remind people, hey, if you're interested in this, click here. And then they get on their own list, and that's where you make those announcements for people who have specifically opted in for whatever that event or retreat or whatever series of announcements may be.